Hi friends. It feels really good to be back. I feel like I've been in this very, very, very deep process of transformation, of death and rebirth. Hi Nat. With the approaching equinox and just everything that we have been living in this past month and a half or so. It's been quite a ride, and I've had to, in the past few weeks, really go inside and stay there. And that process for me is hard because I have so much that is inside me, welcome, that I want to share and that's coming through and that's wanting to be created and expressed. And yet there's that part of me that's like, you got to stay inside, you got to stay inside, you got to stay inside. And so just today, I woke up and I felt the energy and I'm like, yes, I actually feel like I could stand up and be in my body and feel good and express something and share. So I am coming on here to share with you that I just recorded a webinar on how the Divine Feminine holds the keys to your deepest desires. And this is an official announcement. Hola, Saul. That the Womban Wisdom mentorship is about to be open. And I know I've been saying that for a while, and I was asked to go all the way in before I was allowed to open it up. And so this webinar is just like a tiny little taste of what the Divine Feminine can look like for you in your life, and what your relationship is with your desires, and what your desires can even be and manifest as. So it's just really exciting work to be anchored and shared, and you will know if you're drawn to this. This work asks us to really anchor into our bodies, to anchor into something deeper that is calling us. And I know there's a lot happening around the world, and yet the only thing that can really happen right now is your connection to your body and yourself, and your connection to get clear about what desires do you have inside you. And that process of unveiling what desires you have within you is a process in itself. It's not so clear, cut and dry that you get to figure out your desires and you get to live them, right? This is why we have so many people walking around unsatisfied, living a life that doesn't please them, but it looks like on paper they have everything, because we have been stripped away from the essence of the Divine Feminine within. We have, at a root, we have been disconnected. And so this is the work that's being asked to be shared at a very deep level through not only the Womban Wisdom mentorship, but just through the work that I'm doing in general in regards to bringing our essence back into our bodies, anchoring into our lower chakra centers, which is what actually holds our spirit body. This concept that we are all just love and light and we can sort of swim in those ethers forevermore. That's very nice. It's very sweet. And yet it needs to be anchored. And this is what the Divine Feminine brings to us in the way that she is transmitting through me. And the way that is coming through is that we have to anchor in these higher frequencies that are coming in. It's no easy task. The levels of light that are coming in at this time, and this is the path of the Ascended Rose, is understanding that we are grounding something that has never been grounded before. The Ascended Rose teaches us that we need to descend in order to ascend. That process of this, right? That cannot be avoided. We cannot just go up forever and ever and ever and think that we know everything. It's unrational. It's not the essence of nature's intelligence, right? It's avoiding the inevitable. At some point, it's going to break down. The illusion will falter on itself. And this is what we're seeing now in this reality. We're seeing that the illusions are falling away very quickly. You know why? Because there's no foundation. There's nothing to hold them. And that is only a reflection of our bodies. When we are not anchored in, if we are not tapped in and rooted in, our foundations will fail. Yeah, they'll hold us, they'll sustain us, they'll hold our manifestations. I talk about in the webinar that I just recorded the difference between the manifestation culture that we are in, and I know some of us don't want to hear this. We are in a manifestation obsession culture where we have learned how to program this, the mind, to create a holographic reality that suits our ego and suits our desires. And suits, to be honest with you, if you listen to the webinar that I just recorded, you're going to realize that the desires that you have been given, that you're living out, are chances are they're not yours. They've been fed to you, they've been given to you. And you learn them along the way somewhere. And that's why so many people are walking around so many material things and so many things that they thought would bring them happiness, and yet they feel unsatisfied, disconnected, not rooted in their essence, not in their truth. And so this is what this work brings. This work through the Womban Wisdom mentorship, through this webinar of tapping into your true desires, through the work of the Divine Feminine. Not tapping into your mental desires of, this is my vision board, this is what I want. Like those things, they're not sustainable. And it's not to judge, right? Like we're allowed to have that vision board. I have a vision board. It's not to judge that or to say it's wrong, but to understand that there are different levels and layers of that. And to understand that we will manifest. If we have a vision board and you want to manifest something, you will. You will. And is it going to satisfy you at your deepest level? You'll have to come back to me and tell me once you're there. Because what I have found is that it doesn't. With myself and with clients and with people around me. And so the work that's being anchored at this time is to anchor in the highest levels of light that are coming in that we haven't even been exposed to. This is the whole work of working through these gateways, of the equinoxes, of the passages, of the spiritual work that we do, to anchor it into our bodies. And that requires us to show up to the nitty-gritty stuff. That requires us to anchor in. And I am being called to share this work of the Divine Feminine in order for you to first get clear and real about what you desire. What is desire, first and foremost? What is true desire? Do you even know your desires? We think we know them, but... Hi, Ro. We think we know them, but chances are we don't. We actually don't, because let me just tell you, it's revealed to us through time. And as we work with the Divine Feminine, she shows us new levels and layers of ourselves, new reflections of ourselves, which with them bring forth new desires. It's a natural evolution. It's the one thing that we as a humanity don't want. We don't want to hear that, because that means that our little square plan for our life doesn't fit. Because that one page is only a representation of who we were 10 years ago and what school we went to get to there, right? Does that make sense? So like our desires are ever unfolding. Our reflection and the work that needs to be done is ever evolving. And that's the work of connecting and rooting into your Divine Feminine so that you can move and fluctuate through time and evolve your essence and still feel rooted in yourself. Now, I'm not saying it's easy work. I'm not saying it's easy work. I'm not saying that once you tap into your Divine Feminine, everything is given to you. No. Yes and no. But once you start to do that work, you will be held at a deeper level, at a root level, at that level that has been taken away from us, that we have forgotten many, many, many lineages ago. The essence of the Divine Feminine has been stripped away from our consciousness and our society, and it's time to bring it back. And that is the work of the Womban Wisdom mentorship. That is the work of the Divine Feminine that's rising at this time. And that is the work of the Divine Feminine that's working through me Yeah. The divine feminine is expressed differently with every single person that transmits it. And my only intention is to transmit it in the way that it's moving through my life. And the way that the divine feminine is working through my life is very much so in the lower energy centers, anchoring in so that we may have a strong container, so that we descend into, reconnect into the feeling of our bodies, desires, pleasures, and pains, and so that we may rise up a completely different being, our true being. These are the deeper levels of the divine feminine that have been working through me, and I'm like, oh my God, how do I do this? What do I present it as? How do I share this level of work? And so that's what's being transmitted at this time. Really excited to be sharing with this at this time. I think it's most needed because of the light that's coming in. It's so transformational and it's so quick, so that when we show up to this work, it asks us and demands us to evolve and change very quickly and very rapidly. And unless we're rooted, what can happen, which is what has happened to me before I understood this stuff, is that you get lost in the ethers. You're like, yeah, you know, I already know who I am. I already know what I'm here to do. I'm going to swim in the ethers of the spiritual consciousness. And it's going to be hard to anchor into some kind of deeper essence and truth as we navigate the moving times that are ahead, the transforming times that are ahead, because we have to root. The divine feminine asks us to anchor in and to get very curious about what that process looks like, and to know. There is a sense that we must know, and we have to come back to a knowing within our bodies and with our essence. And you're not going to find that out there. You're not going to find that on screens and in books. You're going to find it in your body. It's in your body. The wisdom has to be unlocked within you. And this is why we are called to go within. This is why I was called to go within time and time again. Because yes, I've had mentors. Yes, I've had all the things. And it will always lead you back to you. And it's revealed through time, and it's revealed through layers. That's how this wisdom works. You have to give it its due diligence and its due time. And so this new webinar that I just recorded is just like a little taste of that, of like, okay, what do these desires look like for me? What does it look like when I work with the divine feminine? What can she bring to me? When I say she, it's just that essence within you, right? Like when we start to activate the divine feminine, because the truth is, it's not activated. It's rising on this planet for sure, but we all hold a very specific frequency of the divine feminine. And until we activate it within us, that work is not done for us yet. We have to experience it. We have to live it. It can't be anchored for you. Just because someone else is doing the work of the divine feminine doesn't mean she's doing it for you or he's doing it for you. It doesn't give you a green pass to just go. So this is a call. This is an announcement that the Womban Wisdom Mentorship is opening. We will begin mid-April, but registration will be closing before then, probably closer to the end of this month. And it's an opportunity to get real, to start to see what's in front of you, to start to reconnect to your true essence, which is a process in itself that needs to be unfolded, right? Like the rose, she needs to be revealed one petal at a time through time and space. You don't pick up a rose that's fully bloomed and have her there forever and receive all the wisdom all at once. The rose exposes herself to you through time. As you nurture her, she nurtures you. And that's how this process works with the wisdom. Hey Maya. Hi Katie. Hi everyone. Minayu, hola. I'm sharing about the work of the divine feminine and how through the Womban Wisdom Mentorship Program, how it's going to be opening soon. I just created a webinar about getting intimate with our desires. And what does that mean? What is our true desires? And so getting curious enough and allowing ourselves to explore what that even means is really important, because we think we know our desires. We think in this world that is so driven by the distorted masculine of create, manifest, move on, create, manifest, move on, receive, receive, receive. Like, we think that we know our desires, but then when we have all the things and then we end up unsatisfied and disconnected and we can't figure out or touch, like, why do I feel unsatisfied? Why do I feel unsupported? Why am I in fear? The Divine Feminine holds you, anchors you. When you are anchored, it doesn't mean all your fears are erased, but there are certain levels that cannot be budged. They cannot be touched. And this is what happens when you start to anchor into your truth, into your essence. And I find that the Divine Feminine is a path for me. I share from my experience that has taken me there, and that continues to reveal herself to me, that continues to reveal aspects and layers and new petals of wisdom and parts of myself that have been uncovered since the beginning, since I can remember. And she gives you and teaches you the courage to unfold and reveal and express and create. And that's one thing that I am seeing now with so many women. It's like, we're being called to reveal and express and create. And yet, where are we doing that from? Are we truly anchored into the truth of that expression and creation? It's such a fine line, because we can be creating and expressing from a distorted field. So that's what this webinar is about. Definitely check it out. I'm going to be promoting it. It'll be in my tree link, so it'll be very easy to find. But I want you to get curious, whether you watch it or not, about what are your desires, like your true desires. Yeah. Katie, so good to hear you and feel you. Because our desires are our path back. And many of us have been told that our desires are too much or not worthy, or we've just been taught to not look there. Like, why bother? And yet they are the keys to unlock the Divine Feminine within you. And what is the Divine Feminine? What does she hold for you? That vast knowledge and encyclopedia is inside your body and inside your bones. I will help you guide and navigate to clear up the process of you tapping into it. But in order for you to tap into your truest desires and actually create those desires, that means you become the creatrix of your life. You activate the creatrix codes, man or woman. You activate those codes within you so that you can magnetize and create, not from the mind, not from this distorted manifestation mode of the masculine, but of the deeper essence of truth within your body. And that's one of the things I talk about in the webinar, is the difference between creating something that is in your essence as opposed to creating something that's been told to you that will bring you happiness and satisfaction, which at some point we all learn that it doesn't. And so in her mystical and esoteric ways, she teaches us. And that is the path that I am being asked to walk. I am being asked to share. And I'm really excited for this new group, this new Womban Wisdom group that's coming up, because with everything that we've lived in the past year, it's really time to clear the soil underneath us and get very, very crystal clear about where we are, how are we going to get seated in our own being, and how are we going to move forward. And I'll be talking more about the Womban Wisdom mentorship in other videos, because there's just so many things to share, because we could talk about so many topics. But just know that this webinar about tapping into your true desire through the Divine Feminine is a process in itself. So I'm not promising you that you watch the webinar and the gifts will be given to you like that, right? If I told you that, that'd be a lie. If anybody ever tells you that, it's a lie. It's a lie. It's not easy. Nothing that is worthwhile can be given to you in the blink of an eye. Only your own truth by going within, that can be given to you in a blink of an eye. But that is given by you to you. That's another conversation. But starting to tap, to clear enough of the clutter in our lives, in our minds, in our bodies, and to have the tools to do that, to tap into our desires, that's my intention with this webinar. To understand what your desires are, how to tap into them, and what tools to use. And then, of course, to briefly touch upon the topic of the Womban Wisdom mentorship. So I hope this sparks a little bit of like a little fire inside of you to ask, like, what are my desires? What do I desire? Especially after everything we've experienced, right? Like, we are totally different people than we were when this whole thing started. And I'm sure that your life and your desires, they perhaps have changed, or evolved, or transformed. And so are you allowing yourself to die fully to that old part of yourself? Because some of us are trying to reach for that thing that we had in the beginning of this whole thing. And it's not that anymore. It's evolving into the new, and it's only going to accelerate more and more and more and more. And that's like one of the reasons why this webinar had to be created. So is for you to sort of mold yourself back into this yearning of, who am I and what am I here to birth and create? Like, get curious enough to let go of everything you think you know about yourself, so that you can actually open yourself to new levels and layers of your desires and of what you're here to birth. Not to manifest, but to birth. And in that process, we have to go down, we have to come back in order to rise up. So I hope this brings a little bit of clarity. Amber, wow, hi. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'm going to be sharing a lot more on the Womban Wisdom mentorship, but this question and this topic of desire and getting clear about your desire and allowing the divine feminine to take you on that journey of discovering, because you don't even know. That's the whole thing. You don't know. And that's what I'm being shown literally in real time. You just don't know. You do know. There's a part of you that knows, but you need that push to remind you and to take you fully there. And that's the way that the divine feminine works. She nudges you through the mystical. She nudges you through the esoteric, through the untouchable is where you touch her wisdom and her gifts. And it's a divine process, and you know if it resonates. If it resonates, I really hope that you take some time to sit with the webinar and to receive what you are meant to receive, because there's some golden nuggets in there that I think you will appreciate. Yeah, so that's all I have to share for today. Keep your eyes out. If you're not part of the email newsletter, definitely make sure to join, and I will see you soon. Yes, High Priestess energy for sure. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Can you tell I haven't been here so long? Like, I don't even know how to turn this thing off. Mahalo.